What's up, everybody? It's the KBR Sports, the best sports talk show, your 24-hour day, back from the break. Remember, you all can follow and subscribe to the KBR Sports podcast by going on Rabble TV, Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. Did I say SoundCloud? Well, if I didn't, also you can follow through SoundCloud. And don't forget, you can follow the KBR Sports Twitter page at KBR_sports, where the live links and the show topics are tweeted prior to every single show. And don't forget, you can call in at 571-991-0566 to give your thoughts and opinions on any KBR Sports show topic that may be getting discussed on the show. So let me jump into this real quick. We're going to talk about Isaiah Thomas's farewell letter to the Boston Celtics fans. A letter that he penned through the Players Tribune. A really well written letter by Isaiah Thomas, in my opinion. I think that it's a long letter, definitely, and he expresses his thoughts about the trade, how his situation when he was informed about the fact that he got traded via a call from Danny Ainge while he was coming back from a trip with his 1-year anniversary of his wife, 1-year wedding anniversary. So he was coming back from the trip, and essentially, Danny Ainge called him, and he was making small talk with him, and then essentially Danny Ainge just gets straight to the point and says, "Yeah, I just traded you." So IT throughout this letter pens how just the different whirlwind of emotions that ran through his body when he found out about how he was traded, about how he thought about how his kids would feel, and then essentially how his kids felt once he informed them, such as his sons. I believe their names are Jalen and Jaden. Correct. Sorry if I'm incorrect. It's either Jalen or Jamie and Jalen. And he informs his two sons, and one son has a response, and he said his sons were literally a parallel of how he felt in the moment about the trade. One son was like, "Dad, you get to play with LeBron James," in which Isaiah said that's part of how he actually felt. "I get to play with the best player in the world, LeBron James." Yes, but then the other son penned also how he felt, in which the other son was more melancholy about what happened, and the other son expressed the sentiment of, well, is there any skate parks in Cleveland? Because the son had grown to love just the ambiance of what it meant to be a Celtic and what was there, but the different things Boston offered to him. So when you look at this letter, you see how Isaiah Thomas just puts his emotions to pen to paper. But one of the most interesting things that Isaiah Thomas goes on to talk about is when he actually alludes to player mobility, and he talks about Kevin Durant. I'm going to read exact quote from the article from Isaiah Thomas via the Players Tribune. He actually says, "I actually think this was a good lesson, not only for me, but for the league as a whole, and for the fans and the media too. Just in terms of how they talk about guys changing teams. I was thinking about that last year with KD and his free agency, about how people gave him such a hard time for doing what he felt was best for him and his future. How they turned him into a villain just for doing what was his right to do as a free agent in this league. Suddenly it was, oh, he's selfish, or he's a coward. Suddenly, just for doing business on his end and doing right by himself, he was portrayed as this bad guy." Now, Isaiah Thomas makes an interesting observation, because this is true. And as long as NBA history has been written, we always, especially after the LeBron James decision, whenever guys decide to leave their current team to go for greener pastures or just to chase after a different situation somewhere else, we rake those guys through the coals. Not only as the media, but as other players in the league as well. Those players are raked through the coals at times. Kevin Durant is the most recent example of it, where a lot of people were saying, "Oh, I wouldn't have done what he did. He doesn't have a sense of competition in his, there's no competition in what he's doing. He doesn't have a competitive bone in his body." But what if Kevin Durant made his decision because he has every competitive bone in his body? What if Kevin Durant made this decision because it was the best decision for him and his family? What if Kevin Durant made this decision because he saw it as the best opportunity for him to win? And at the end of the day, what especially particularly in the NBA, what are players judged on? Statistics and rings. They don't care about how many MVPs you won unless you're vying for an accolade race between Michael Jordan and LeBron James and some kind of sort. Nobody cares about how many MVPs you won, because if that was the case, it would most likely it would be brought up more often that, oh, Charles Barkley was an MVP, Karl Malone was an MVP. Those are guys' most marquee accolades. But most often they're remembered as the guys that didn't win. The greatest players in NBA history to not win a ring. So Isaiah Thomas makes a great point in the sense that why is it that guys are okay, or it's okay, and it's just business for players to get traded and be moved around like pawns in a game of chess, but then when they want to take control of the game themselves, they're seen as villains for it. I've never understood it particularly myself. I've never been the one to judge a guy or to call the guy's move a punk move or soft move if he wanted to change teams, even if he's going to a team with other stars. Isn't that the whole point, that you go to a team to play with other players that are of caliber, that make your job a lot easier? Nobody goes into work saying, I want my job to be as tough as possible today. More often than not, when you have a good day at work, it's because it was an easy day at work. More often than not, the days you come home to your husband or wife and you're like, oh man, today was a rough day at work, it's because you had to do a lot at work. A lot was asked of you, sometimes more than you're used to. Kevin Durant wanted to go to a situation where, in most circumstances, that wouldn't be the case. Where on most nights he would be asked of what he expected to be asked of him, or even possibly less. Can anybody tell me that they don't think that this move possibly elongated Kevin Durant's career? More time of, he gets more rest on the bench. He gets more games where he can sit out due to rest. He has less of a scoring load, so that puts less pressure on him. And doesn't this also help us evolve Kevin Durant the player, because now he spends less energy on offense and more energy on defense? Yeah, I think so. So when you look at Isaiah Thomas' situation, I mean, I get why he's upset. It totally makes sense as to why he's upset. But I think it's pretty thoughtful of him to kind of spin his situation into a overall message of, hey, we're players at the end of the day, and the owners have he even says it, I'm paraphrasing here, but he says the owners have the power 90% of the time, whereas the players have it 10% of the time. And the main percent of the time when the players have power is when they have an expiring contract and when they're a free agent. Particularly when they're a free agent. Even when you have an expiring contract, you're still, unless you have a no trade clause, you can still be moved wherever the owner wants you to move you to. So I think that in Isaiah Thomas's case, I think that definitely, especially since he was so blindsided by it, you can just understand the pain and hurt that comes from it, because this is a team that Isaiah Thomas led to a Eastern Conference crown, a team that they overcame the Cavaliers in the regular season to take the best record in the Eastern Conference. And when I say Eastern Conference crown, I don't mean like Eastern Conference champions. I mean regular season Eastern Conference, the best record. But he led them. He's a guy that helped the Boston Celtics remain a winning team in this period where everybody thought they were going to be the same situation as the Lakers, just racking up picks, getting young talent, trying to build a team. But because of Isaiah Thomas, he helped keep them in that competitive instance where they could still compete for a championship, compete for the finals, still be a competitive team, and be exciting to watch while still getting young players. So this team owes a lot to Isaiah Thomas for what he's done for them, especially without even notes saying that he played in a game right after the death of his sister, in a playoff game, in a game 1 against the Bulls, I believe. So that just goes to show the heart and fortitude of this small dynamite. You know what I mean? And I think that we should be more cognizant of how we talk about players when they decide to make the move to go somewhere else, to go play somewhere else. Instead of always casting them in a villainous light, why not just cast them in the light that they want to do what's best for their team to win? Most people, a lot of people, in these instances, I like to see a lot of people, even you show your true colors even when you're playing a game like 2K, a game like Madden, or a game of whatever, when you go to a team, the best weapons on that team, because you're showing that you want to go to a team where it's easier for you to win and easier for you to play. You don't go to a team like the Nets, you don't go to a team like the Jets, you don't go to those kind of teams because you know the odds of you winning aren't high on those teams. You want to go to a team where you can win. So why is it, if you as a fan, as a media member or whatever, show those same exact principles in your everyday life, you can't expect these guys who are just regular people at the end of the day to display something different in their lives? That's not fair. It's not fair at all. Just like how some of these top broadcasters go to ESPN, they go to Fox Sports, they go to the NFL Network, they go to NBA TV. Why don't you just stay in your local market and make that local market boom then? If we're all about being competitive with our competition and whatnot, you can compete with the same people in your media field from that same market. You know that you get more exposure on the national level, especially a better paycheck on the national level. So you go to that national market. Just like people in their regular jobs. If you can go for a promotion and you know you can be in a better situation where you get better pay, better, easier work, you get a better living situation, why wouldn't you take that? You don't stay there out of respect for competition for that your company is facing with another company. If you get offered a better opportunity, most people, you ask them, are you looking for a better opportunity? They'll leave their current opportunity real quick to go to a better opportunity if it means more pay, easier commute, and better living situation for their family. So I think a lot of people should start looking in the mirror and stop being so quick to judge these players when they make moves. Now, I'm not one that pretend to act like I didn't want Kevin Durant to stay in Oklahoma City when he initially left, or LeBron to leave Cleveland when he initially left. But these guys have a right to make those decisions, and they don't deserve to be villainized for making those decisions. Now, is it as fun to watch in the league? No, it's not as fun to watch. Now, if you're expressing your sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Your disappointment in terms of what you're watching and how lack of competitiveness there is, then I understand your point. But if you're just criticizing the person that's making the move and the move itself, then I can't get with that. Because a lot of people in the same situation have shown in their daily lives they would make the same decision too. All right, y'all, let's go wrap it up for this topic. When I come back from the break, I'm going to be talking about the NFL over-unders and week 1 matchups and the NFL season-long predictions. Remember, when the live link ends, refresh the page after 50 to 60 seconds, and the live link should be back on for you guys to tune into. It's KBR Sports, y'all.